Good morning, everybody that's out there listening today. Thank you again for joining the One Door at a Time podcast. I am your host, Jason Richardson. I'm the Vice President of the Home Service Companies here at Security National Life. And I do want to take the time at the outset of this audio recording to thank you for listening, and be sure to follow, subscribe, hit those likes or applicable signs of appreciation on the various platforms that we're on. We are on YouTube, Spotify, Facebook, etc., etc. So having said all that, this is the third episode today, and I am interviewing Miss Ashlee Lachney, who is a district sales manager here at Security National Life for, I guess, our sister company, Kilpatrick Life. How are you doing today, Ashlee?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Doing fine. So glad we could get together and do this. And I'm hoping that you've listened to some of the other audio recordings. Greg said that he could sign anything that you needed him to sign.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Don't ask for autographs, please.
Well, then afterwards, after this one posts, you can tell Greg the same thing. So there you go. Well, so Ashlee, how long have you been with the company, counting your time at Kilpatrick?
This will be my 6th year with the company.
6 years. So for those of you who don't know, Kilpatrick Life, which has been around for an awful long time, really domiciled out of Louisiana.
I'm sorry. This was my 7th year.
7th.
Yep.
Math is hard. But yeah, so Kilpatrick Life domiciled out of Louisiana, which is where they were the strongest. And a few years ago, Security National Life purchased Kilpatrick Life, and we still market the Kilpatrick Life brand and company in the state of Louisiana. And so Ashlee is the district sales manager for North Louisiana. So she has one of our larger districts here in our home service division. So Ashlee, why don't you kind of start us off by just telling a little bit about yourself and how you got into the insurance business. And I know that you didn't start off in the right place. So maybe how you started off in the insurance business in general, and then how you landed at Kilpatrick Life.
Okay. Well, I started working in the insurance industry in 2010. Originally, I was pursuing the P&C side of insurance, the auto insurance, homeowners, that full line. Then I gradually started digging into the life insurance side of things. And I was more intrigued on the relationships you build with the clients and the importance of that policy. Not to take anything away from your auto insurance or homeowners insurance, but the fact that I can protect a client and protect their family at the same time, that's what drew me to just strictly the life insurance sales. Yeah, after several years of working in the P&C side and then digging into the life, I felt more comfortable. I felt more valued just doing the life insurance part of it. It fulfilled something in me, and just knowing I went home every day, I protected this person, I protected their family. It did something to me, and it just made me feel good about myself. It made me feel good about my career choice and things like that.
Okay. Well, and I'll interrupt you there before you get into how you landed at Kilpatrick Life. But, yeah, that's the interesting thing, because the difference is people think that they're one and the same, meaning P&C versus life insurance sales. But I've always said that P&C is more of an order taker, not to take anything away from our P&C brethren, but property and casualty, for the casual listener who doesn't know the lingo, but property and casualty, like a house or car insurance, is generally a bought product. People know that they have to have it to make sure their loans are taken care of at the time of loss, versus life insurance is a sold product. And so typically somebody, has to be sold a life insurance product because nobody wants to think about death. And so that's interesting that you say that you were actually drawn. Most people find themselves the opposite, because it's fairly simple, unless you're more of an ambitious or sales type person, to want to gravitate towards the P&C, because you just sit in the office all day and make calls and wait for people to come through the drive-through and say, would you like an apple pie with that? So as far as the Kilpatrick, so how'd you go from the first company, the property and casualty company, and land at Kilpatrick?
A very good colleague of mine was after me for several years to make that jump. And I was hesitant at first because of the pay structure and things like that. And, being a contract agent, commission only, that scares you sometimes to make that change, because I've never worked in that type of environment before. And then finally she recruited me, and I'm very thankful that she did. And of course, she's still with us today. It was one of the best decisions I've ever made, was to make that jump and come to the Kilpatrick family.
So let's talk about from Kilpatrick, because you were at Kilpatrick, you started as an agent, and you moved your way up into sales management. And then lo and behold, a company out of the blue buys. I say out of the blue for and kind of tongue in cheek. It wasn't out of the blue. People
right
knew something was going to happen there, but a company buys you, and having been on the side that you were on before, with a previous employer, I understand how it feels when some company comes in, because there's a lot of uncertainty surrounding that, right? Am my job going to be safe? Are they going to fire us all? Start over with people of their own? And I'm sure that some of those thoughts were probably running in your head, at least initially, when Security National bought Kilpatrick Life.
Right.
Yeah. And so, and having said that, I don't know, as I'm sitting here talking through this, Ashlee might not have been worried about it at all, because we actually had a big meeting where everybody was told how contracts would change and how people could make more money. And instead of staying around for that meeting, she goes off to Bermuda. Where did you go? Jamaica?
Oh, yeah. I was in Jamaica celebrating my 10-year wedding anniversary.
So she's like, it's not really important. I'll worry about it later.
Right. And I didn't have, I couldn't talk to anybody for a cell phone service, but I still had Wi-Fi connectability, where I was getting Facebook messages, do we still have jobs? Was all changing. So I was still trying to maintain, stay in the loop, even though I was living it up with my husband celebrating. So.
Just as long as you didn't partake in any of that special ganja stuff down there in Jamaica.
No, we passed on that.
Okay. But of course, then how long have you been district sales manager?
2 years. Oh, well, a little over 2 years now.
Okay. I couldn't remember when I promoted you, but so since then, yes, you've gone from being a sales manager to district sales manager. So kind of run the gamut, at least up to the district sales manager side. So having managed people in the captive environment, which is what Kilpatrick was, what I refer to sometimes as a traditional home service agent, meaning that agent has salary, benefits, et cetera, versus an agent that has a 1099 and can technically write with whomever they would like to write for. What are some differences, or what are some differences or some challenges, if you will, for one system versus another?
The main challenge, I think, from going from a captive to a non-captive is I try not to lose that family, that orientation, because we were getting together twice a week. It was mandatory. You had to come in and do paperwork, fill out all your weekly reports, stuff like that. I think it kept them a little more engaged in where they stood, versus now being non-captive. They just kind of go and come as they please, which now a lot of them have seen, okay, I have just a little more freedom. I'm not tied to an office. I don't have to do the millions of paperwork that pretty much every paper says the same thing, just in a different way. So they do enjoy that. I know.
I can't connect to your Wi-Fi network.
Oh.
You can find setup instructions in the help section of your Alexa app.
Well, that's interesting. Yeah, so Alexa decides to interrupt us. Big Brother's watching and listening. So go ahead.
I can say all of my agents are still here from when we were bought out and when we changed from captive to non-captive. I have the same amount of agents. Nobody left, and now I have more.
Yeah.
And they do like this way better. At first, a lot of them were, about the taxes and different things like that, kind of scared them for a minute. But now, they all get the gist of it. Everything's good, and we're smooth selling and climbing that ladder to the top.
So a couple of things with that. One, yeah, it is different managing somebody and leading somebody between a captive or captivate type environment. And by that, I mean, and you might have heard this on one of the previous podcasts, but I refer to a way we do it as captivating the agent, meaning holding their attention via the bonuses, trips, et cetera, that we supply here at Security National Life. But instead of holding them captive, which just sounds really bad. But there is kind of a learning curve to it because you are more independent. You don't, people think, well, I don't have to show up and I hit that 9 to 5, which we left at, when people were doing the hourly thing, they kind of left that behind for this, but this is kind of the next step in evolution, right? That they
Right.
are indeed their own boss. We're just there to help make sure that one, the current policyholders are taken care of, and two, how can we add value to that said agent? And so if you're an agent with maybe another company, you haven't been fortunate enough, I'll say, and admittedly, I'm not a disinterested third party when I say that, but maybe you have not already signed up with Security National Life. You're with a home service company, and that's the only way they can hold on to you is by saying, oh, well, we provide benefits. Trust me that they're taking their benefits out of your contract. Every time you get charged with something that you didn't write, you just paid for your benefits. So yeah, it's snuck in there. And so what we do is we provide ways and avenues, if the agent is successful, to actually earn more money and be their own boss again. Because I think that the fact that we didn't lose anybody, unfortunately, we lost some to passing away and several health issues. But other than that, we didn't lose anybody just saying, hook this, I'm out of here. I think speaks to the fact of one, our management team, but also two, the contract. So once it was explained to them and the light shined, on their head, and they said, well, I get it. I can make more money and I've got more freedom. Then, I think that speaks to the fact that the contract is available here at Security National Life. So you'll probably hear me say it again before the podcast is over. But if you're interested in signing up with Security National Life, visit snlhomeservice.com and click on the careers option. So I know that being in the home service business versus the P&C side of things, there are a lot of similarities in handling customers and, customer care one-on-one type thing. But it's a little different, isn't it? Sitting in the office versus
Right.
going out there and dealing with some of the customers that we're dealing with. So how about you got some funny story that stands out in your mind, maybe especially like when you first started out, that you're like, what in the world have I got myself into?
Oh yeah, the main story that sticks out is I wasn't here that terribly long, and I just started going out by myself. I told my manager at the time, I said, look, I got this, I know what I'm doing. If I have a problem, I'll call you. And then I went to this customer's house. I was selling him insurance, and he had a small little Jack Russell Terrier, small dog. And he had his main door of his house open, but had a screen door, but no screen, that he just had closed. And the dog would kind of go and come as he pleased. We talked, I went over the different policies, everything. We'd come to an agreement. This is the one he wants. This is the one he can afford. So I start the application process. Well, he had got up several times hollering at the little dog because he was chasing his chickens. So long story short, all of a sudden, I'm, head down, I'm writing an application. I'm all excited. I'm feeling good. I'm making a sale. This dog comes out of nowhere through that opened screen door, soaking wet, full of mud, everything, jumps straight in my lap, licking me all over the face. So just ruined all my paperwork. I'm soaking wet. I'm full of mud. And I mean, we all know we have outside dogs. We live down in the South. They have fleas, whatever. I started itching. I had fleas jumping on me on top of mud, water. So the man, of course, apologized over and over. I said it was fine. He gave me a roll of paper towels, cleaned myself up. Paperwork was ruined. I said, well, the best thing, why don't we just reschedule this and I'll come back another day? And he agreed, that was fine. So needless to say, my day was cut very short, had to go straight home, take a shower, change clothes, the whole 9 yards. So that was one thing that I would never forget, is when I was full of mud and also had fleas for momentarily.
So you're telling me you didn't soldier through and go ahead and turn the app in with mud and all?
You couldn't see anything I wrote on that paper.
I've seen applications that look like they were dropped in mud puddles and everything else, and you just kind of wonder the story behind all that, how did that,
Right.
how did that happen? And I can imagine the underwriter, had they got that, been like, what am I supposed to do?
And then, but the good side of it, the plus side, I did go back. I sold him a policy, turned around, and that's when we were still connected with the funeral homes. I did a prearranged funeral contract. I sold him a headstone. And then I went back later and sold some more to the rest of his family. So it all worked out good. The fleas and mud were worth it.
So, so there, most of us have that time, like when we first started in the home service business, that we wonder, did I fall off the turnip truck yesterday when I signed up for this deal? Situations like your own, though, they're funny, especially after the fact, that there's still that grind of Miss Jones not paying you when she should pay you, or that lapse hits your commission statement and you're all hacked off because you thought for sure they were going to keep it forever. And you just kind of wonder, hey, should I really have signed up for this? Maybe I should go back to the ease of sitting in an office somewhere. So what was there one kind of tipping point moment with you that you said, hey, I think I'm in the right place and doing the right thing? Was there any one tipping point moment like that?
Oh yeah, I mean, there was a couple of months that my sales were a little low, and I kept doing what I knew what to do, and I knew what worked. And then one month in particular, I was still here. It was less than a year. It was some new business, very nice size premiums, and I wrote that family. It was 6 applications. They all lapsed. I had some more lapses, and it took all of my increase, and it had me feeling way down. I got depressed, and I'm like, okay, maybe I can't do this. Maybe I'm not cut out for this. And then one night I sat down, I was talking with my husband. He says, you know what you're doing, you know what you're good at. Don't give up, keep going. And that's one of our things, you're going to get a yes. You have to go through the no's to get the yes. So I just kept pushing forward, and then I ended up covering all of my lapses plus some. I ended up winning a free trip. So I mean, it's just, I never gave up. It got me down, but then I just kind of brushed it off. That's part of the business. It's going to happen. We got to deal with it. But instead of me going up and down, I just kept doing what I knew that worked, and it pulled me right back out of my slump.
Yeah. There's definitely those moments that you go home early because you're like, there's just no point. You kind of give up hope.
Right.
And I remember early on in my career, I mean, I couldn't give a policy away. Not that we would ever do anything like that, various departments of insurance. But yeah, so I couldn't give a policy away. And I was listening to a training tape, which kind of tells you how long ago it was. But yeah, so I was listening to a training tape, and the person that he's since passed away, but he was doing this training, and he said he went through a whole year without selling a policy. Now, I thought, whoa, how do you go a whole year without selling a policy? And, he said, I was going through the slump, just nothing was working right. And he said, maybe you're going through that slump now. And I go, what? How does this guy know this?
Mm-hmm.
And so I definitely kind of recommitted myself to doing what I needed to do. And sometimes, especially if you're the primary breadwinner for your home, it can be kind of daunting at times because, hey, the little ones, the little birds, and Ashlee and anybody else that knows me knows I have a lot of little ones at various points in my life. And so, having to fend for those and making sure that those are taken care of is, probably the most daunting thing when you're out there. But actually, my sales manager told me when I first started in the business to take a picture of my kids and put it on my odometer, my dashboard there, so that I would always feel like this is the reason why you want to stay out here. The problem was that I have 6 kids, so eventually I ran out of dashboard space. Seriously though, a lot of us find that when we really submit that, hey, this is really what I want to do, is when we deliver that first death claim check.
Right.
We show up to collect the customer's insurance and they say, yeah, she or he, passed away last night. And you're able to go to the wakes, to the funerals, and be there for those folks that have been there for you. Sometimes it's for those people that weren't there for you. I had a customer pass away not too long ago. She got better with age, but it used to be like pulling hen's teeth to get her to pay anything. And her daughter called me to tell me she had passed away. I said, "Oh my goodness, she was just getting where she was nice and easy to deal with." Her daughter just laughed because she knew it was true.
Mhm.
So when you've got that kind of connection with your customers that
Right.
and for those of you who actually might be going through a slump, if you're an insurance agent, whether you're with us or with anybody else, you go through slumps and highs and lows, and you might be going through a slump right now. You hear all the people around the water cooler and the internet telling you that nobody's buying insurance anymore. It's all being sold online. It's all being bought via the internet and being payroll deducted. But I can attest, and I'm sure that Ashlee and any of our other interviewees can attest, that the fact that it's never been a better time to be in the home service business because there's less competition than there's ever been. Yet statistically, there are less people being insured today, less insurance agents out there selling the insurance, and more people being underinsured than there ever has been before. And so the opportunity for somebody that does want to kind of struggle through the hard times to get to that time where the customer calls you because you've built up that relationship with them. I'm sure there are people now having dealt with you. You said you've been with Kilpatrick for 7 years.
Mhm.
So and now versus when you first started, they're like, oh, okay, that's just that kid that just started. I don't know whether she knows where she's going or coming. Versus now they say, oh yeah, Ashlee, I remember when you first started collecting me. There's people that call you and ask for you because they know that you've taken care of them and taken care of the business.
Right. I
Yeah.
have one customer that when I collect her, she's down to her last policy, and I still go out and collect it. And whether I'm hungry or not hungry, not thirsty, you have to sit down, you have to eat a little snack. She knows my favorite Little Debbie snacks. She knows my husband's name, my kids' names, never met them a day in her life, but she knows when their birthdays are just because we have built that relationship. I mean, her dog's name is Sue. When Sue got sick, I mean, she called and was telling me about it. So I have a very good relationship with this one customer that I know that will, outlast my career, that I'll always go back and think of her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. And then that's one of the kind of the fringe benefits of what we do. Not only can we make a living for our families, but we help a lot of customers, and we, make a lot of friendships along the way. So definitely added plus to our business. So Ashlee, what would you tell or advise anybody that might be listening that's out there? You having worked for Kilpatrick Life, a captive organization. Now you're working with independent folks. So what would you tell a manager that may be thinking about making a change or an agent that might be thinking about making a change? What would be some things that you would suggest to them?
My first question would be, what are you waiting for? But no, I mean, I would go into detail. I mean, this career path has blessed my family in so many different ways. Financially, it's allowed me to always be there for my kids. It's very rare if I've ever missed a ball game, a school play, how they used to, which my kids are older now, so how you can go eat with them, for Christmas or Thanksgiving, something like that, or a field day. I was always there, and my kids always knew that they could look up and see me sitting right there. So that was one of the main plus signs. I'm not sitting here looking at a time clock waiting, it's 4:56. Okay, countdown. I got 4 minutes left to clock out. The ability to have the freedom to be there for my family, because that's at the end of the day, that's the most important people. They depend on me just like I depend on them. So if they're ready to make that change and be there every day like their kids want them to be, again, what are you waiting for?
Well, so what about a sales tip for the listener out there that might be saying, "Hey, Ashlee, tell me something I don't already know." What kind of sales tip do you might have for somebody that might be listening?
When I first started in the home service business, I was told the 3-foot rule. Anybody that's within 3 feet of you, hand them a business card. And that actually took me a while to get up the courage. Because I mean, if I'm looking at the mom behind me at Walmart, she's got a buggy full, she's trying to keep her kid from getting a sneaker bar or something like that. She don't have time for me. She don't want to hear what I got to say. But when I finally overcame that, built up a little more confidence, and I know what I'm doing, let me just do it. And the first time I did it, I was actually pumping gas. I wasn't in the checkout line, I was pumping gas. And I just looked over, and he did a nice elderly man. And I said, just do it. I sat there and talked myself up for a couple of minutes. And then I said, okay, I'm just going to bite the bullet. I'm going to do it. Either he's going to accept it or he's just going to tell me where to go. And so I just leaned over. Well, actually, I pretended I was throwing something away in the middle on the trash can. And so, I said, excuse me. I said, hi. I said, my name is Ashlee Lachney. I said, I'm the insurance lady around here. And I always, want to build up my clientele and help anybody that I can. So I just wanted to hand you a business card. If you already have it, or if you need it, or anybody in your family needs my services, please don't hesitate to give me a call. And he sat there for a second, and he took it. He said, so you're not one of these scammers? I said, no, sir. I said, I believe in what I do, and I love to help people. And he said, okay, well, if I need you, I'll call you. And it wasn't that long, he called. And I wrote his daughter and her new baby. So it's
funny
main thing.
Funny thing about that, it's like, are you one of those scammers? Well, yes, I am, sir. Now that you ask, what were you supposed to say?
Right. So the main sales tip is, never get up. You're gonna have your bad days. You're gonna have your bad months. I've had several. It's just learning to overcome that, brush it off. It's in the past. You have to learn to let it go and look forward. Because if you keep comparing everything and looking in the past, you're never going to get anywhere. So
Right.
Just shut all that down, shut it out, delete it from your mind, and then keep pushing forward and do what you know that you can do.
Yeah, sometimes, at least I have been, I feel like others are the same way. Like you were saying, hey, I'm an insurance agent by day, but by night, I'm nothing to do with insurance. We kind of segregate things off in our lives to say, okay, I'm going to do this here, and then I'm going to do this here. And I guess that's the mentality of America, that everybody works for a company. We work from 9 to 5. And when we get home, we don't want to think about work. But with what we do, there's no time that we really don't think about work, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not like at 8 o'clock, nobody can call you and say, hey, my wife just passed away. I need to know what I need to do with a claim, or hey, you need to come by tomorrow and pay your insurance. I get calls. I've been in the middle of church and get texts and saying, hey, I'm trying to call you to make my payment. I'm like, I'm at church. Can you just wait?
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, and if you're not working in a small area, it's easy to think that, hey, everybody knows what I do. And so therefore, I don't have to tell everybody. A lot of times I wear Security National shirts that show the various home service brands on them. So a lot of times people will ask. I think just here recently, we had another manager that works with us that was at a hospital of all places that said, hey, I used to be in the home service business. It's been so interesting to me. I've been at truck stops before, and people say, what do you do? And you end up meeting somebody that's connected to home service in some kind of a way. The Kevin Bacon rule, if you will, that there's 6 degrees of separation from anybody with Kevin Bacon. I say for home service, whether it's Truett Cathy, whether it's Colonel Sanders, and no, I don't just talk about chicken, whether it's Saddam Hussein or Fidel Castro, there's this 6-degree rule of home service. And though a lot of people in the world today don't really know what home service is, because there's not as many companies marketing through this method anymore, it is still as relevant and still just as needed, more so, I would say, because there's less companies doing it. So Yeah, that's interesting. So as far as sales tips are concerned, if you have a block of business or a group of customers that you've dealt with, you've tried to sell them and you sold them everything you can sell them. They're maxed out. They can't even afford anymore. A lot of times we just kind of mark it out of our minds. Even so much so that when we go into the house, we don't even take our kits or our applications. We just run in with the route list, we grab the money, and we run out. So what I would suggest to you, instead of paying for a whole bunch of expensive leads, is to go to those customers and say, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, if something happened, like say Katrina happened, we did this a lot afterwards, unfortunately, when Katrina hit, but if something like that happened and that we had to scatter and I needed to get in contact with you, who could I call to tell me, where I could get in contact with you at? Normally they'll give you their sister, a very close friend, something like that, to be able to get in contact with. Well, then in turn, contact that person and know who you are. Tell them why you're calling. You're not calling necessarily to sell them anything. You're calling to let them know that you're these people's insurance agent and that they had listed you as somebody important enough to contact in the event I couldn't get in touch with them. And I just wanted to introduce myself to you and leave it at that. So an emergency contact is a good way to get additional leads to people that you might not have previously seen or talked to.
Right. And also the T, if you're at somebody's house, do the T, go to each neighbor on the side and across the street. And I've done that. And I've asked my customers, do you think they would mind if I, go across the street? I said, just to introduce myself. Oh, no, you want me to tell her you fixing to come? And you can leave your car, go ahead and walk across the yard, stuff like that. And that's it. My simple way is I'm the insurance lady of the area. So if you need something, I handle Miss Jones right here. You see me come, once a month or whatever the case is. If you need me or anybody in your family needs me, here's my card. So that's helped me a lot. I have built my book of business for the time I've been with Kilpatrick. 99% of it is from referrals. It's working my existing people because they know who to call when something happens. I mean, I've been a marriage counselor to some of them before and, this, and we talk about our kids and problems like this. So you mean more to your customers than you think you do.
Yeah, that's so true. Even the customers that like, they hate paying you, that you're just another bill collector. I had a customer in Crystal Springs, Mississippi, and when I took a staff and went off that debit, I was like, I know that woman's glad to get rid of me because I just hound her to make sure she paid her insurance on time. She told the guy that came behind me, and he in turn called or told me, he said, Lula said Jason was the best insurance man I ever had. I said, why would she even say that? Because I thought she just hated my guts the way she treated me. Yeah, they appreciate, because I think there's some self-awareness there that they know a lot of times that, hey, I don't really do good with bills. Hey, that's why they don't put it all on bank draft. That's why they're wanting that person to help them be more responsible, and you get the benefit of getting paid for it. So there you go.
Right.
But yeah, so there's a lot of definitely some good sales techniques that you don't have to pay anything for it, because I know a lot of final expense agents, they just sometimes waste their money paying for these leads. That's the great thing about the home service business, is that you not only build, make that sale and make that initial first commission, but you're also getting a larger renewal over a longer period of time than traditional final expense. And so you've got that benefit, and you've got built-in lead generators, right?
Right.
Because your customers are always having kids. They're always meeting new people, and you're just going through them where you've built the trust to get those leads, instead of having to pay for something that has been marketed to 4 or 5 people before you paid for it.
Right.
Definitely a less expensive option, because I think that a lot of times that people view home service and collections in general as work. If you would instead view it as lead generation that you're getting paid for. then people wouldn't have a problem with making that collection.
Right.
Obviously, with technology, we've advanced. We've actually made it to the 20th century. Maybe one day we'll get to the 21st. But with the 21st, the technology that we have now, my customers know that, hey, gas is too expensive for me to run around and collect them every week like I used to collect them. Okay,
Right.
so they know I'm going to make one pass, and if I don't pay it, okay, I'm going to have to use some kind of electronic payment method, or I'm going to have to mail it or something like that. And
Right. They know you're not coming back anytime soon.
yeah, so
Right.
they've kind of learned that, or they'll know I text them. I know a lot of the younger generation respond better to text than what they used to. So
Right.
yeah, if technology is there, we can utilize technology, even though we are the oldest distribution method for selling of life insurance. Prudential Life started out selling the same policy we sell today in the 1890s. Though that is as old as it is, there are some ways that we've adapted and utilized technology to work smarter rather than harder and still not lose who we are. So we are definitely a kneecap to kneecap, eyeball to eyeball type of a company that's still working with customers in their homes, and if they want us to, collecting them on every month, quarter, whatever. And we find that to be a good niche to be in, whereas a lot of companies are content to be that small fish in the big red ocean sea. For those of you who read Blue Ocean Strategy, you can get that reference. But we're content to be that big fish in that small pond, because there's still a lot of business to be had out there and a lot of people that we can help. So well, as we're wrapping up, Ashlee, again, I'm glad we were able to sit down and talk about this. Anything else that you wanted to leave with the listeners?
Well, I would tell any agent, if they're thinking about, or if you're not an agent yet and you're thinking about joining this field, one of my main things that stuck with me is, one, to believe in what you're selling, because people can read you, they can read your body language. Throw in some of your personal experiences and, let them know what's happened in your life and how the life insurance has saved you. I was once told by a mentor to ask yourself this one question: what will happen to the people I love when something happens to me? And then I've repeated that over and over throughout these years, and it's stuck with me throughout my career, because there's so much you're doing when you sign that application. You're not only protecting that one person, you're protecting their family. And so, that quote has stuck with me throughout all these years, and it probably always will, because that's how I show people the value in what you're getting. You're not just buying another plan or, another product. You're doing this to protect the people that you love. And then when I step in on one of the worst days of their life, you can see and you can feel the sigh of relief when they know they're not fixing to have to choose between this casket or paying my light bill, because that's where I come in.
That's right.
And so that means the world to me. Being there for these customers means the world to me. And I would tell any agent, what are you waiting for to make that change? Because we have a spot for you. We can lead you in the right direction and make you successful, because that's my goal, is to make all of my agents the most successful that they can be.
Yep, for sure. And if you are interested in becoming a part of Security National and Kilpatrick Life, visit snlhomeservice.com and click on the careers option. You can also go to klic.com and kind of get there as well. And you can join the team today. We do recruit agents who have never been in the business before and are not licensed. We help you through the licensing process, or if you're an experienced person, we can get you started right away. So what are you waiting for? Look into it. Hey, if you just want to call Ashlee and see if this is right for you, or the company's a right fit for you, she'll take those calls
Every day of the week.
at any time of the night. Well, maybe not. Maybe not.
Well, it just depends on what time it is. If I'm already sleeping, you're gonna have to wait till the next day.
Yeah, she might not be as bubbly in personality if you call her at midnight. So, so again, thank you everybody for listening. Be sure to subscribe, hit that like button or any other applicable signs of appreciation. If you're listening on Spotify, be sure to give us a 5-star review as well. And until next time, have a good day and happy selling.